So who here has played this game? This is the Oregon Trail, and this game is brutal. The first thing you do in this game is you put in the names of your family members, your friends, and it spends the rest of the time killing them off with horrible diseases and accidents. And this is a game for kids. Like, why would you do this, right? And the creators knew that there's something really powerful about that, putting people in that experience, giving them that gift of being in this world. Because education hasn't changed a whole lot since its original conception in its current form in the Industrial Revolution. We're still dividing up subjects. We're still doing a lot of rote learning and memorization. And it's great if you're training factory workers, but if you're training students who need to face the challenges that we haven't even discovered yet, it's totally insufficient. And what I wonder is if we can bring technology into this equation, if we can somehow, bridge that gap. So my background is I worked in the commercial games industry on games like Batman and Lord of the Rings. These big budget titles that, there's something magical about games. You don't have to make somebody play a game. It's not like homework, right? Like, they're just drawn to it naturally. And is there something about that? Like, if education could be like that it's just a self-driven thing. Could we bring that power of education of games into education? So I'm currently working on a project called Eco. So we founded a new studio, and Eco is a game that simulates an ecosystem of thousands of plants and animals for a single classroom. And this world is set in a scientific simulation of an ecosystem where players have to build a civilization. And all their resources are coming from the environment, so they can affect the environment that they're playing in. And the teacher is part of this world, so they understand what's going on and what students are doing, and they can use this in their classroom. And this is highly focused on collaboration and leadership and connection. You can create governments in the game. You can propose laws, and then players vote on it. They're forming these groups in order to make decisions about what should be allowed in this world. Because the problems that we're facing today are not just scientific, they're not just knowledge problems, they're social problems. They're things that we need to connect to each other, we need to understand. These are the skills that we need to give other people. And this just puts everything that they're learning in such a context. Because it's a fragile world. The world of eco can die. It can be polluted, you can chop down all the trees, your species can go extinct, you can kill off your food supply. So it really lives or dies based on the students' decisions. There's these stakes. What they're learning in class is immediately applicable in this social context. They're playing with their friends, this world's important to them, and that just gives so much more value to what you're learning in school. It gives you the why that education so often struggles to provide. Because there's no bad guys in this game. The only enemies are other players and trying to decide the right way forward. And even though you have the same shared goal, people have different biases, different ways of approaching it. And the weapon you wield in this game is data. So you're able to look at the simulation. You're able to see what's happening in this world, what's happening to the population rates, what are players doing, what pollution rates are happening, and use that to argue your point. So you're basing it in these facts of this world, and that is how you succeed in the game. So we tried this out in some classrooms, and one classroom we had, first period comes in. First thing they do, chop down pretty much every tree, and they build these awesome houses out of them. And then second period comes into the same world, they're sharing it, no trees anywhere. So they chop down the houses of first period, build their own houses. And just that conflict, that you have the same goal in this game, but your individual needs and biases. It's tragedy of the commons. Giving players that experience and trying to navigate that is the future of what we need. So we're rethinking, how can technology fit in the classroom? Traditionally it's kind of, you have computer lab and you sit down, you have this individual experience, right? Which is not really making use of the classroom space. I'm interested in something that you're playing the game at home, and the classroom is the council meeting time. It's where you're discussing what's going on in the shared world, where you're applying everything you're learning in the class. You're connecting to each other and using your skills immediately. And I think there's a huge potential for games to really address some of the huge challenges that we face. Things like climate change and sustainability. These are massive problems that happen over huge amounts of time. And with a game, you can compress that into a tiny space, in a tiny period of time that you can see the impact, you can see the effect you're having, and actually understand what your role is in this thing, and then work it out with your peers. And maybe it's not that games need to look more like education, but that education needs to look more like games. Thanks a lot.